Welcome to the season finale of Backstage with Randy Phillips. We're wrapping up season 3 with an honest and insightful conversation with podcaster, author, and speaker, Toni Nieuwhof. Let's jump in. Well, welcome to Backstage with Randy Phillips. I am Randy Phillips, and I am joined by the incredible Toni Nieuwhof. Hi, Toni.
Hi, thank
Welcome to
you.
Backstage. So glad you're here in Texas.
Oh, it has been wonderful. You all are so warm.
We're warm.
Mm,
And you actually live in the 51st state of America. You live in Canada.
yes, according to someone, and according to other people, we're not, but I guess
Is
we
that the
won't get into
craziest
that
thing?
now.
My Lord.
Actually,
Okay.
I'm an American. I have
Oh,
an
you are.
American passport,
Okay.
so yes, I'm at home here.
Your husband is Carey Nieuwhof. Oh,
Yes.
just love him, follow him.
Mm,
He's helped me so much,
mm.
as well as so many other leaders all around the world. And then you have 2 sons?
Two boys. Yeah, they're now 29 and 33, so
What's their
completely
names?
independent. The younger one is Sam. Our older one is
Sam.
Jordan.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
Uh, but your resume, I was just looking over it, and I'm just like, what? So you're a follower of Jesus,
Yes.
madly in love with him,
Mm-hmm.
a wife to Carey, a mother to your 2 boys,
Mm-hmm.
but then a divorce attorney?
Yes. So that came a little later in my
Okay.
career because I didn't want to get into private practice
Okay.
when the kids were younger. I typically worked part-time while the kids were
Yeah.
going through school. So I did some leadership roles in
Mm-hmm.
hospitals. And yes, so it was after I practiced health law that I decided to help people with their problems instead of corporations. Not that there's
Mm-hmm.
anything wrong with corporate law. It has an important role, but I just felt like that's where God was calling me. And I know
Incredible.
it sounds like a very unusual calling for a pastor's wife to become a divorce attorney.
Well,
I
I
realize
don't run into
that.
that a lot, but I love it. And the discipline it took for you to get there, and the learning, and you've helped so many people. And did you write the book before you split, after you became a divorce attorney, or before?
It was after.
After.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
before you split, I got to get that and read it and get it into other people's hands. What's the catalyst behind before you split?
Well, couple of catalysts. One, and I think probably the most important one, was the struggle that Carey and I had for years of our marriage. We struggled deeply to the point where I really had lost hope
Oh,
about
wow.
being in love again in our marriage. It went on for about 10 years. But by the grace of God, help of
Yeah.
friends,
Yeah.
lots of work with counselors, lots of prayer, we managed step by step to walk out of that season. And so we're in a season now where our marriage thrives. I mean,
Oh,
we
that's
can't
great.
even imagine. On our wedding days, we would not have imagined that our marriage would be this good at this stage. And so that was part of the catalyst for me. It was just knowing that I was on the brink of walking away.
Wow.
I could have let my feelings lead me out the door, and it would have been a very natural thing to
Yeah.
do. But I didn't know then how much I would have missed out on
I know.
if I had done that.
It's so brave of you to even say those words out loud. That's an anathema for Christian leaders. You can't show weakness. You can't show scars. You have to, imaging is so important. And you're a platform person. That's why I call this podcast Backstage, because we know what the front of the stage looks like. You just look put together. Everything's great. Everything come out of your mouth is like, wow. But backstage, that's what I deal with it on this podcast. Let's pull the curtain back. And for you to say, you were thinking about walking away is stunning to me.
Hmm.
Denise and I had that too. We had an absolute train wreck.
Hmm.
I didn't know if we were going to make it,
Yeah.
but the Lord was good. The,
Yeah.
the purpose of Before You Split, when people read that book, they're likely to be in some sort of crisis mode, probably, to even get the book.
Well, yes. And so this is the dilemma we have over the title after its publishing. So what I've been told is that because the book is a primer, I go through a lot of the maybe important stones that people haven't turned over if
Yeah.
they're actually in a struggling place in their marriage. And so I talk about emotional intelligence and peacemaking and forgiveness and trust. And, I hit over all those issues. And so people have told me that this is helpful for any marriage. But
Yes.
when I had the original concept and what the publisher and I really discussed was helping people who were in the position that we were in.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely is, I think, zeroed in on people who are struggling to the point where they're ambivalent. They don't know, should I stay? Should I go?
Okay. And the tools you put in people's hands through your book is stay. If all possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing there's some things that you shouldn't stay. Abuse, those sorts of things.
100%.
But in your experience, do you feel like if people will commit to self-healing and dependence on the Lord, every marriage can make it?
Well, I'm in my divorce law experience, I can't say
Yeah.
honestly that every marriage can make it because some marriages are abusive to the point
Right.
where it's just not possible for people to safely stay in the same
Exactly.
residence. And I'm not saying that it's not possible to maybe have a temporary separation or a
Mm-hmm.
separation for a time to allow each party to heal, and then is there a possibility in the future? Well, who knows? Because, God does miraculous
He
things in
does.
people's hearts. But in some cases where there is abuse or if there's violence, if people are being hurt, then there needs to at least be that
Mm-hmm.
separation of
Yeah.
residences.
Well, I just heard you speak. You preached at my church here in Austin, Texas on Mother's Day. It was fantastic.
Oh,
I learned
thank
so
you.
much. When you think about women in the church, how do you feel like the church is doing? I know this is you and particularly your husband's passion. How are we doing in the church with addressing these things that women have on their heart? Are we doing okay? Where can we get better? Do you have any words there?
Well, I mean, don't we always have room for
Oh,
improvement?
yes.
Yeah, I think as far as addressing the issues that women struggle with, we could always use more support, especially for women who are in the stage of actively parenting young kids,
Yeah.
and having support and
Yeah.
even having established avenues for mental health supports.
Mm-hmm.
The respite care
Yeah.
if you've got a single mom who
Yeah.
is looking after kids. I mean, single motherhood is just a reality in our
Right.
culture, and single moms are loved by God, so we want to welcome them in. I think the church can really play a powerful role in addressing the particular needs of younger women.
Thank you. We need to do better. I need to do better.
Oh, don't we all? Our church does too.
The in your biography I was reading, it says Toni is passionate about helping people to love being home. That's the opening statement, and it struck me. I haven't read anything like that before. What does it mean to help people to love being home?
Well, I mean, when you're driving from the office to home, whether you're really looking forward to it or whether there's something waiting for you that you're dreading. And I went through years, as I mentioned, in our marriage where I wasn't sure what I was going to walk into when I came home. Carey and I had this this era of tension where it was just like the water was always boiling under the surface, and it didn't take much to blow the lid off the
Wow.
pot.
Okay.
And so so I want to help people find true, like, healthy relationship. Relationship with healthy intimacy at home between husband and wife. And also, that that climate in the marriage sets the tone for the whole household.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you want your kids to be acquainted with things like love and peace, then it's up to us parents to set the climate.
Yes.
And so a lot of what I do is in the peacemaking realm. And I especially want to help parents and couples find a way through their conflict and a way
Yeah.
to better peace, better connection with God, feeling more loved by Jesus.
So good. We, at the churches that I have here in Central Texas, we set up a counseling ministry. And so we have counselors that if you're interested in being a counselor, we train you. Then we put you with people who are in trouble or need
I
help.
love that.
And
I'm so glad you do that.
Thank you. It's been a passion of mine, and I love to see how the person who went through things now are able to help people heal. It's just beautiful. But I got so much pushback from local leaders and even people in the church that said counseling is not. We go to the Lord. We take our problems to the altar. We seek a mentor to help pray us through it. Counseling is man's and woman's feeble attempt to address things that only God can do. You've heard that before, I'm guessing. What is your answer for people? It's like counseling isn't a church. It's just not part of what we should be doing.
Yeah, not compatible. I would beg to differ.
I figured.
I think that we don't live in a simple world, a simple culture.
No.
There's complexity. And so people attend to studying various disciplines because there's a lot to learn. I mean, this is a complex creation and a beautiful creation. I believe that counseling is a particular skill, an area of study that, without that expertise, we're missing something. Now, what I would say is in the church, you would want a counselor to, yes, be trained,
Yes,
be experienced, and yes, bring the light of Christ into the conversation.
Because that gets difficult when it's an unbelieving counselor that would point you in a different way.
Yeah. When I go to counseling, I want my counselor to also be praying.
Yes.
I want the light of Christ. I mean, who better do we have to draw upon but God?
I know.
I want his wisdom there.
Yes, absolutely. You were speaking at my church here in Austin, preaching, and you were listing your resume not in a way that would like I need to impress you. You're so impressive. You don't need to do that. But you listed your resume, and I'm like, my Lord, that is so impressive. So, follower of Jesus, wife, mother, international speaker, podcaster, author, divorce attorney. What am I missing?
Pharmacist.
Pharmacist. Dear Lord. That is so unbelievably impressive, and the discipline that it took to just do any of those. But as you were speaking, preaching at our church, you said that resume and being the overachiever and having an impressive resume was masking something else.
Yeah. It was masking a deep-seated sense of worthlessness. It was, they call it toxic shame.
Okay.
Shame that doesn't relate to, an event or an action, but just a pervasive internal feeling of worthlessness. And that didn't come to the forefront. I think those hidden beliefs, if you may, are, they're well hidden for survival purposes.
True.
And so it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I even had any clue whatsoever that there was anything amiss about my childhood or my mental health. And it wasn't, and I believe God is gracious and good, and so He's revealed things in
Yes.
layers. It wasn't until in the last 5 or 6 years where I would have had been able to label it toxic shame.
And you feel like the shame that you had, which you said felt like a boulder or
Yeah,
a stone?
yes, I did describe it that way to my counselor because it was so hard to move. Because I did pray. It's not, I've spent my years since I accepted Christ when I was 23, praying, reading the scriptures, memorizing the scriptures. I've
Yes.
done cognitive behavioral therapy over all the years, and that work didn't seem to really touch the. Well, if you want to get into it, it's the way that kind of abuse gets into the limbic system, the emotional center of the
Yeah.
body. So I needed some more specific therapy. And thankfully, I do believe that God brought me there and God uses it.
Oh, no doubt.
I don't feel that way anymore. There
Okay.
is no part of me that feels shame. Unless it's, circumstantial. I didn't do
Yep.
something I was supposed to do. Then
Yes.
that's appropriate. But
Was this shame taken on by you or however it works out through parental something that went on there or just development or?
yeah, it was so, as best I know in talking to a psychologist, it was my experience having had a father who was an alcoholic. So he loved the alcohol. He didn't
Oh.
really love me.
Oh.
And had anger problems. So there was a lot of displays of violence. And so I walked on eggshells
Oh.
and had that insecurity. And I guess the message that I internalized was that I'm not enough.
Oh, that's so hurtful.
Yeah, well, I believe that God uses all things, and even this, God is redeeming. And I know that I'm not the only one who struggles that way. So
Right.
I'm not. I'm very open about it because I would hope that anyone else who resonates with this may
Yes.
also take some steps and reach out because there are solutions.
Yes. How did the toxic shame, as you talk about, impact your marriage, and how did it impact raising your two boys?
Great questions. In terms of my marriage, I think I was absolutely overly sensitive to Carey's body language. So if he was upset or frustrated about something, and sometimes it was, the state of the house, like the state of the kitchen, because I was running around trying to do 10 things and the kids were little
Yes.
and, somebody spilled their cereal,
Yeah.
whatever. And so I would, I would react and become angry with him for being frustrated.
Yeah.
I think I just had too thin, like my resilience wasn't there.
Okay.
And then in terms of the boys, I was always very, very tuned in. I think probably to a fault. I think my instinct was I wasn't protected when I was little. So if anything, I was probably overprotective.
Oh, yeah.
And my default was if I was really stressed, I would just play with the kids, like forget the responsibilities. I would just play. So, we'd have dinner and then I'd play with the boys. Well, I guess if my stress response and my dysfunctions led me to play with the boys more, that's not such a bad thing,
Not
right?
bad. You started a church with your husband. You were a young church planner working through some of that stuff. How did it impact your walk with the Lord or how you dealt with people in your church?
Yeah, we didn't exactly plant. We started in the Presbyterian church.
Okay.
And then we transitioned to multi-site and we affiliated
I
with
got it.
North Point.
Yeah.
So there, a few transitions. It wasn't exactly, but I
Okay.
mean, we did raise it from
Yeah.
a handful of
It's
people.
me, you planted it, but
So
okay.
by the grace of God. So how did it impact the church? I think in those early years, I really operated with very much a self-sufficiency mode. And so my defense response, I guess, against having parents who just weren't there for me was that I'm better off alone. I mean, that was the hidden
Mm.
lie that, really can only come from the enemy,
Yeah.
because that's not true.
No.
But I did operate my life as if, I'm independent. It
Mm.
all depends on me. I'm going to
Mm.
take care of myself. I'll have 2 degrees. I don't have to depend on anyone else for
Right.
income or anything
Yeah.
else. And so I tended to be detached. And and God's done a lot of healing in my heart and in my life, and shown me how real interdependency is intended to work in the church. I think in the early days, people would have found me a bit detached, and maybe even to the point of being cold, even
Mm.
though I was there and I was
Yeah.
volunteering and I
Yeah.
wanted to be there. But sometimes what's going on internally really does impact just the way you show up for people.
Mm. Oh, that's so good, Toni. You're amazing. It hurts my heart to think that your biological parent couldn't or wouldn't love you. Just hurts me to think they
Mhm.
could have such a treasure in their home and not know it.
Well, Randy, I do believe that my parents loved me in the ways they could,
Mm.
and that they did the best
Okay.
they could with what they had. From what I can tell, and I don't know a lot about my father's side of the family, he also underwent very serious abuse, like physical abuse, when he
Oh,
was younger.
okay.
So you just know, I just don't know. He's passed away at this point.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I'm amazed at how God has been so faithful, because there have always been the right person at the right time
Yeah.
around me to give me what I needed
Mm.
in those circumstances. I had a wonderful group of friends when I was growing up. I
Mm.
used to joke that I was raised by my friends.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, thank God for those friends.
Mhm.
Oh, to a lady who's dealing with toxic shame, maybe in a loveless, unaffectionate relationship, or maybe their kids aren't respecting them to the level they should be, or maybe they've had issues with their biological parents, maybe an absent father, or maybe they were single,
Mhm.
that raised in a single adult uh, household, single parent household.
Mhm.
What would you encourage a lady who's watching right now that's feeling these issues of toxic shame? What were your steps to getting liberated?
Hmm. I did counseling with a psychologist,
Okay.
but I also uh, went through an EMDR. It's one of the tools that a therapist would use
Okay.
in uncovering some of the inner emotions that go along with those experiences,
Mm.
because they kind of get embedded in your body. It
Yeah.
helps to release it from your body.
Okay.
So EMDR was very helpful. I love to read, so I read about toxic shame. Um, there's a great book written by Chip Dodd about emotions and feelings, and it's called The Voice of the Heart. And I
Mm.
think that's a very good intro to, how emotions are designed, like how God designed our emotions to
Yeah.
work. And in particular, he talks about shame. So
Okay.
I think that would be a good starting place.
Yeah. Oh, and the devil's that's one of his tools, isn't it? Shame. You're not enough,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
or you're broken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, something's wrong with you. All that stuff
Mm-hmm.
rattles around in our head. I guess shame came in the garden, right? Wasn't that one of the things that
Yes.
they hid after they'd
Mm-hmm.
sinned? They
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to face him. They didn't want to look at him.
Tried to cover up shame and
Cover.
blame.
Oh, and it
Mm-hmm.
started right there in Genesis,
Mm-hmm.
and it has morphed into this debilitating. When you sat in church, or when you were in a church service, worship was going on, or maybe the Eucharist communion whatever was happening. Were there moments where you felt like it has lifted, but then it would come back? Or was being in
I
a spiritual atmosphere not healing for you?
I think the depth of it was something that God revealed over time. So it's in those in the earlier, I would say, couple of decades of our or maybe that's a bit too much, 15 years. Uh, I would not have had feelings or inklings of shame.
Okay.
It was buried.
Okay.
It only
I
revealed
see.
itself over time.
Okay. Mm. So, ladies who are watching this, listening to this, uh, Toni Nieuwhof is amazing. And she has, you're so open with it. I just love it.
Mm,
Vulnerable, transparent. There's hope for you. There's hope for you. Don't be
mm.
discouraged. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't feel hopeless. The Lord can do something new in your life. Toni, about how long from the time you started stepping in, taking steps to overcome toxic shame to the time you felt like, I think I'm either healed or being healed? What was that time period?
I wish I could say that, someone prayed over me and
Mm-hmm.
it lifted instantly.
Yeah,
But I believe that God can do that.
you
So
can.
I would not put that outside of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
But I think in the experience of people that I've talked to, it's a process. It's a journey.
Okay.
So I did pray. I leaned into God. I engaged in counseling. I did the EMDR that I mentioned.
Mm.
I actually went on a 6-day healing retreat. It was a healing
Yeah.
trauma retreat. I would say for me that was about a couple of years from the sliding into that deep pit,
Okay.
being in the deep pit, and
Okay.
then coming out of it to the point where I could work again and
Okay.
resume my life.
Yeah.
But when I say 2 years, that's not going to be everyone's story.
No.
I think it's very, very individual.
Mm-hmm.
The beautiful thing about it is that God knows where
He
you're
does.
at, and that even His presence and the little clues along the way that He sees you, and the access that you have every day to ask that question, God, show me how you are loving me today.
Mm.
It gives you the strength and the courage to
Yeah.
keep taking the steps and keep going.
Oh, that's great.
But there is freedom.
Yes.
So I would encourage anyone who is struggling with shame or toxic shame to take the steps
Yeah.
of healing. It's been life-changing for me.
One of the things you did in our service here in Austin is you said, I want to lead you in this exercise of meditative. I remember how you said meditative focus
Meditation on
on the
God's
Lord and His
love.
goodness.
Yeah.
And you had us. Would you just take our audience briefly through that exercise because it was so meaningful?
Oh, well, thank you. Well, meditation was something that I hadn't really practiced meditation in my prayer time over all
Mm-hmm.
those decades. But it was something they talked about it on site as being potentially very helpful on to bring our emotions to where
Yeah.
we want them to be. And we know that God promises us the fruits of the Spirit,
Yes.
right? Love, joy, peace. But I wasn't having that experience. So I prayed a breath prayer, and it's very simple, very simple. You just meditate on God's love. So it basically means focusing your thoughts.
Yes.
Focus your thoughts on the love of God. Imagine with each inhale that you are inhaling God's love and that it's filling you through your whole being. And then exhale slowly and comfortably, and this is your time to respond to God's love. So it can be a time of praise. That's what it is for me. When I exhale, it's praise. And
Thank you,
so
Jesus.
I say the words silently in my mind, beloved, because I am God's beloved and He is mine.
Yes.
So I'm calling Him beloved. And I just pray deeply and comfortably, be loved, and really imagine God's love filling me completely. And then exhale, beloved. And you can use whatever words you want, or you can even do it without words. But I find it's a way to experience God's love, to actually feel it, like to slow down so that's
Yes.
what I am focused on. It has made God's love for me as an experience far more real.
Love that. I would encourage you to practice that.
And even it
Center in
doesn't
your
take
mind.
long, like 5
No,
minutes a day.
it was
5
great.
minutes. I've extended it to 10 minutes, but that's not a lot of time.
Inhale, beloved. Exhale. What are your
Be
thoughts?
loved.
Be loved.
Yeah. Inhale, be loved. Like imagine God saying to you, be loved, child, be loved. And then exhale, praise, beloved.
Oh, I
And it
love
doesn't
that.
have to be those words. You can
Yeah,
use whatever words
love
connect with
that.
you, or scriptural words.
Thank you. Thank you for being my guest today.
Oh, it's a
I like
pleasure.
you just have such an incredible ministry, life. You've impacted so many people, and I thank you.
By the grace of God.
I love
And
how you
thank
talk
you.
too. I love how you talk. You say about funny. How do you say about?
Oh, about.
That's not how you say about. Thank you, Toni. Lord bless you and your
Oh,
husband, your family. I hope you'll come back to see us.
I would love to. It's been a
Okay.
privilege and an honor.
Thank you. Well, that's it for Season 3 of Backstage with Randy Phillips. Whether you've been with us since the beginning or just found your way here, I'm so glad you've been part of the journey. Every listen, every share, every moment matters, and I don't take it for granted. Now, Season 4 is already in motion, and it's going to be deeper, bolder, and full of powerful conversations. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. And don't forget to follow us on our socials at Live Family Media or my personal account at RandyPCD. I'll see you then.